Hi, everybody. My name is Robin Hansberger with GolfForever, co-director of sales with this amazing human being on the call with me today, Brandon McLeod, Class A head teaching professional with the PGA as well, and owns his own golf academy, AIM Golf Academy. So without further ado, let's really just dive into it. So today is all about building a better winter golf program with the GolfForever Swing Trainer. How many of you are familiar with the GolfForever Swing Trainer? If you have one, put a thumbs up in the chat. If you're interested in learning more about it today, please let us know. But today we're really going to dive into what this system is all about and how we can help you deliver a better, more comprehensive winter golf program with the GolfForever Swing Trainer. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the brand, we've been very fortunate to receive quite a bit of industry buzz from the Golf Network, golf.com, here in Canada, Golf Digest, Score Bet, all of these different sort of major publications. And most recently from golf.com, we have this article, the best training aids of 2023. So our picks, we are actually the first featured golf swing trainer in the article. And from the author himself, this is just a great snippet that will really lead into a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. So Nick says, the GolfForever Swing Trainer is a training aid that's good enough for the world #1 ranked player, Scotty Scheffler, is definitely good enough for you or me. And with good reason, because the GolfForever Swing Trainer makes it easy to feel the proper transition of the golf swing. And I'm really going to emphasize the word feel here, because what we're going to go through today will really allow you to understand, but also teach the proper feels of the golf swing to your students and even looking at your own performance. So we will share this article with you guys afterwards, but it's just a really neat feature in a great publication. And we're really excited to see this buzz coming through from some of our industry peers. So what is GolfForever all about? If you have not had a chance to demo the system, you do not own the system yourself. The GolfForever system is a fitness and wellness system that uses an intuitive app and key training equipment that you see here on the right to virtually deliver all golfers the same world-class workout plans, recovery programs, and performance workouts to complement your coaching. And by your coaching, I mean the PGA professionals that have worked so hard to build their reputation across the country. When we look at golf professionals, we've really kind of honed in on a few areas to really help you understand how you could integrate it. So the first portion that's critical to success, and this is where Brandon's going to share some of his expertise later on, is through individual training, through your own personal training. Whether you are competing on the different sort of provincial or PGA of Canada tours, you're playing with your students, or you're just playing for fun with your friends and your family. It's a great training aid there. We also look at player development and improvement, and that's what today's webinar is all about. You will also see everything from a diagnostic tool perspective today that we are going to share with you. But all of this will culminate to really help you learn how to integrate this into your lessons, clinics, camps, or academies, depending on how you set up your business. This here is what the swing trainer looks like when it comes out of the box. Every single swing trainer comes with an asymmetrical training bar. We have power grade soft sweat resistant rubber grips that have different training zones, and we'll kind of explain what those mean a little bit later. Each swing trainer comes with a premium resistance band with nylon safety sleeves. So we have the light and the medium resistances. We have 2 carabiners that allow us to attach the swing trainer asymmetrical training bar, as well as the resistance band for different types of workouts. We have a universal door anchor, and this is a key piece for travel, for home use, and things like that. We also have an interchangeable weighted ball. We have a D3 swing weight and a heavy weighted ball for overload speed training. And then we have 2 soft rubber handles for different types of exercises that you'll find in the app. So really, this will go back to the second slide when we talk about feels. The GolfForever training system we honestly feel is the best motor repattern training tool on the market. And Brandon's going to really dive into why that is. And the winter is really the best opportunity for us as golf professionals to retrain motor patterns. What we love about the GolfForever system is that we can look at many different core competencies and trends in the golf swing that may lead to inconsistencies, injuries, or poor performance. We look at balance, we look at speed, rotation, distance, but most importantly, what we are really honing in on right now, and what Brandon will touch on shortly, is the accuracy of a player's ability, not only from a aim perspective, but really how we go about attacking the ball in that address position. So really, this is what you guys came here for today. And I will pass this over to Brandon shortly. But what we're going to go through is understanding swing trends using the GolfForever system. And we've picked up 3 trends that we feel hit across all major categories of golfers. So what we wanted to do today is deliver information that impacts every golf professional, regardless of your clientele, whether you're working with world long drive hitters, top ranked PGA professionals, elite juniors, amateurs, seniors, or weekend warriors. Where we see fundamental breakdowns is in the hip hinge and core strength area, the upper and lower body disassociation, as well as balance and stability. So regardless of who you're working with, we are seeing these types of breakdowns in the swing that are leading to either swing faults, injury, or inconsistencies in their golf game. So Brandon, without further ado, do you want me to press play, or do you want to quickly introduce yourself to the group?
Yeah, I think just getting ready to Dan, and then I'll jump in once my little analysis of Dan's swing is finished.
Perfect. So this is really all about understanding your players' movement patterns. So we took a video in our performance lab here in Markham, Ontario, at the home of the AIM Golf Academy, using our V1 pressure software, as well as the K-Vest, just to help you guys visually understand what we're seeing with this golfer. So here we go. If you can't hear if you're having trouble hearing it, let me know. You can type something in the chat, but this is all about Dan's assessment leading into his winter golf training.
Here's Dan coming in for our winter golf assessment. We're going to have him hit some. Lost the volume on it, Robin. Format you see on the screen here. We've got, this is, it's a backwards, unfortunately, I apologize. This is Dan's lead foot. This is Dan's trail foot. So it's reversed. I apologize for that. But again, lead foot, trail foot. The white ball is showing Dan's pressure at any moment during his golf swing. And then the yellow line showing how he traced. And again, we're wearing the K-Vest where we're going to measure these 4 segments of his body, his thoracic, his pelvis, his arm and his hand, just to look from a kinematic sequence standpoint. Are they firing in the right sequence? And the speeds at which they're firing. So we're going to get a really nice in-depth look here at Dan's swing and how we're going to use the GolfForever bar to diagnose weaknesses for him in his body and why they're creating the problems in the golf swing that we see, and then how we can use it to fix those weaknesses, use it in a blocked practice hitting way where we can build the feels and then immediately step in to hit the golf ball to create the change that we want to have in Dan's swing. Dan comes to us today with about, I believe it was 9.8 degrees. I have a picture here later on in the slideshow, 9.8 degrees in to out with a closed club face. You can see his trace of his swing behind his shoulders there. Comes to us complaining of hooks. And what we see is we see a nice weight transfer. So his transfers on time into his trail side, right? Really nice, but it kind of stops, not kind of fully transferred, but it is really nicely on time here. But you can see a big reason of why he's hitting those hooks. Closed club face here. As he takes it back, gets it back to a pretty decent position. Again, a nice show of reason why we're hitting those hooks a little too flat with that closed club face. And when you see Dan here shallow in his transition, you'll start to understand why he hits the hooks that he does. But we can see on the mat, really nice load into his trail foot, into his backswing. So he's really strong and loaded there. But here's where kind of things break down. And for me, the big sign of some glute weakness, like when I watch him come back here, it's not a pillar of strength back there. You can kind of see that white ball shaking and moving a little bit, as well as the weight shifting back to his lead foot when he's trying to post into that. Kind of clear sign for me of glute weakness. And then as he starts to fire, you can see it's rotation first, actually moves back onto his trail foot in his downswing before he can then push again. Still hasn't pushed. So takes a long time for him to push off his trail foot, which is, again, to me, a big sign of weakness in the glutes. And we're gonna see some of that in our test that we do with the GolfForever bar. But he does get to his right side on time, albeit a little late. He's still there before impact, but again, you'll see a clear sign of weak glutes here for me as you see him back up and you see that white ball moving back. You can see that times in with the sag in his golf swing. Also, when he fully loses control of the club, we all know this is happening before, but really see him lose the club, and it all kind of coincides when he does his back up on the pressure mat there, back into his trail foot before he can finish his golf swing here. So really, good athlete. He can hit the ball pretty good, but just hooks the heck out of it. So we're going to show you here how we're going to help Dan identify some weaknesses in his golf swing, and then from there, how we use the GolfForever bar to retrain some motor patterns, build it into a block practice session, and rid him of these hooks.
Awesome. So from there, we'll slip over to the next slide. And this is our KBest data here. So the first picture on the left is showing the rotational speeds of each segment. Those orange spots are comparing Dan's speeds in the blue box to his peers. Second picture is showing the sequence of those segments. So pelvis, thoracic, arm, and hand. The first one is showing in the transition, and the second one is showing at peak speeds. And you can see that Dan, not one time, sequences his body in the right order. And then when we shift over one more picture there on that right side where the graph is, the y-axis is speed, and then the x-axis is time. So when we look over there, and yes, you can see in that second picture, all those numbers are going in different orders. But when you look on that graph there, they're all kind of happening at the same time. So can you go with your mouse over to Dan's graph? Yeah, there. The red is showing where his pelvis peaks and accelerates and decelerates. The hand, same thing, and the torso. And you can see how that torso is actually kind of one of the last things. It almost fires with the club at the same time. And if you could just trace that red line for me there, his pelvis, you can see in the golf swing, there's that backup. So he accelerates, decelerates at impact, and then accelerates again. So to me, this data is showing what we were talking about in my analysis: big time glute weakness, and for Dan, a really hard time in disassociating his upper and his lower half. So we're gonna build some movements here. There's 3 trends that we talked about. I'm gonna show you here in a minute with some videos that I took of Dan of how we humble him, if you will, how we show him, okay, it's the body's problem. It's this weakness here that's causing all these problems in the data. And if you don't have the data that we have, fear not. Like, the ball flight is going to tell us what we do. So as long as you have a camera and a swing, GolfForever Swing Trainer, this way we can make this happen for your programs is the same. We're just using the data here today to show you, in depth of what the data is telling us. So we're going to go to the next one, and now we're going to start with, this is the most critical one. Like, the posterior chain of muscles is the most important thing. And just before you hit play on that video, Robin, this is kind of the after. So when Dan first got on this bar, those 3 points you see touching right now, the back of his head, the middle of his spine, and his lower back all touching the bar, he couldn't do that originally out of the chute. So right in his lower lumbar spine, it would have a gap there where his pelvis and lower lumbar would be in this anterior state, which turns the core off and the glutes off. So, you know, is the problem with your player they've just unplugged the muscles and they can't turn the glutes on and fire them because they're just turned off? Or are they weak? So this is what we're checking here is, do they have them turned off, or do they have them turned off and they're weak? So go ahead and play that video again for me there, Robin. You'll see Dan, and we're just trying to get him to understand what it feels like to hinge and tilt and stand back up, maintaining those 3 spots. A lot of times, and you can see right at the top end for Dan there, a little arch right at the bottom above his belt. And so his work here is, how do I go up and down without using my shoulder and using my core and my glutes? So that's going to be big work for Dan out of the gate, fixing and owning his address position. So we'll slip on to the next slide for me. Thank you. Again, another hip hinge, including some balance tests. So Dan's got this. We do it on both feet to check both hips and both glutes. He's going to put pressure into that foot, and then he's just going to tilt back and forth. And what we want to see is that section kind of moving, or that body moving as a unit, nice and flat, right? And you can see in the second video here, Dan's going to this time reset his pelvis, kind of pull and out of that anterior tilt, get that down, and then bend over there. This is, you can see Dan is tough there. This is balance problems for Dan. So failing them, can't really go back and forth very well at all. And then we're going to go to that third video on the right. I just took it here to show you when you're having your players do this, what you're watching and looking for out of the chute is, does the hip stay level, or you can see Dan twisting there. Like those hips should stay flat. Like if you had a glass of water, or I guess that would spill, but if you had something on your back, it would not fall off when you got into that leveled position. So we don't want that glute to turn like Dan's hips there. So again, Dan is failing this really badly, and all those pressure traces that we see and that backup in the golf swing is really directly correlated to these failures.
And that's where we find something so simple as a movement like this, a great indicator of sort of what we see in the end result of the golf swing. So this is really where Brandon will say, how can we teach you to focus on speed, power, and distance if we can't even do a simple hip hinge and a balance test?
Exactly. You can't stabilize the speed you got. What's the point of getting faster? So we're going to switch over to the next one. So again, one more glute strength test. We're going to involve balance portion of this. You can see there the videos. One, he's got his core turned on a little bit better than the other. So all of these things are going to be like, get the core turned on, get the glutes turned on. But you can see here, when Dan's lifting those legs up, a lot of instability. He has a hard time pulling that leg up and holding it with stability, right? We want to be able to just hold and go each time. So his work is going to be really big on those 3 moves there. And we put him through the test and had him sweating it, putting a pretty good sweat here pretty quickly. So these 3 moves really kind of made Dan aware of, man, these things look so easy, but I can't do them, not even a little bit, with any type of control. So it's no wonder he's got ball flight control issues when he's got foundational movement issues. So we're going to strengthen these areas up to give him more stability in his golf swing.
So as you can see here, this is not only a diagnostic tool, but this is where the GolfForever Swing Trainer will help support your programs from home using the app and continue to encourage some of those fundamental movement patterns and building that sort of that base layer of strength for the golf swing. Exactly.
We'll go through that after we get through there. So now here's a core shoulder stability strength test. So a lot of problems that we see this a lot in juniors, seniors, you go to raise your arms above your head, and then you watch Dan here. The first time he did that move, we'll let that video play again. Massive anterior tilt, core turns off, right? And you can watch him here. It really tilts that back. Look at that arch in his back there. So we're going to get him to understand, how do I raise my arms up without going into extension to get my arms up there? How many of your people do you teach where they get to here and they go to lift their arms up, and they're actually not lifting their arms up, they're separating up here, which is going to create timing issues, weight transfer issues, reverse pivot, all kinds of stuff. So we had Dan understand how to do it there on the left first, and then get into that good position and then walk out. So now we're strengthening it up. Once he can stabilize, keep his core turned on, walk out. When you walk out, can you maintain that core shoulder stability spot?
Now, question for you, Brandon.
Yep.
Say someone is really struggling with this second exercise. Is there any way for us to make it easier based on the population?
100%. Take the resistance band right off. So have them do it without resistance, and maybe they only walk out 2 steps. So certainly, great question. We've got to gauge this. There's 2 resistance bands on strength. So there's a light and a medium that comes with the bar. The other thing you can do is you can reposition the hands closer to the anchor point. So if your hand gets closer to the anchor point, it's going to take tension away, make it easier. Move your hand farther away from the anchor point. That's going to make it more hard as well. So if it's a senior or a junior and there's some strength issues, take tension off, get them to do it without tension first, and then go from there.
Or even anyone recovering from an injury, or a female golfer who may not have as much overall strength as well.
100%. And to that point on injuries, December, I separated my shoulder. So, this move, you may only get to here before you start to. So I always say, like, form over like full range. Like, go to the point where, one, it's sore, it's hurting, or you lose your core. So that may mean you only raise it to here, and we're going to work to be able to get it taller. So everything with moderation. I always say the form is the most critical piece of the puzzle. Don't sacrifice form to get all the way up, or do it with tension.
Perfect.
All right, lower and upper body disassociation. We saw on the KVS a part that Dan really struggles with, and you'll see him on the chair there. We do it on the chair to isolate the lower body in this. Decent turn into his backswing. I'd like more, but can barely rotate. You can see to the right, which would be Dan's follow through. A big, for me, indicator of why he hooks it so much is he's trying to turn into impact with his body, and everything just stops. So when that stops, what we saw is this moment everything stops. It's kind of like when everything gets lost in his golf swing. So he's got really restricted left rotation to the left. And you can see here on the right side when he's checking his lower body, play that video with him standing there now, Robin. What we can see on this one here is every time he tries to move his lower body, his upper body is moving and shifting all with it. So all of these reasons why when you look at his club path, it's varied. It's, it goes from like 7 or 8 degrees in to out to up to 11, right? It's constantly changing. Well, every time he tries to transition and separate his upper and lower body, everything's kind of moving with it. So difficult for him to separate. So we really kind of put him to work on these ones here in that little session that we had yesterday.
Now, we had a great question in the chat from this morning, and I think we'll apply for this group as well, is if Dan had a stronger core, would he be able to better disassociate the upper and lower body? Yeah,
that was a great question. And I think that's yes, slightly, but it's not like if he had 5 degrees of rotation, we strengthen the core, all of a sudden we would go to 30 to 40 degrees of rotation. Sure, we would be able to push through that restriction a little bit more with a stronger core, But if you notice like 30 or 40 degrees of turn to the right and only 5 or 6 or 10 degrees, like a significant change from one to the other, that would be a time where you would want to reach out to, you know, a physio or a chiro or a medical professional to say, hey, I see there's some restrictions here in the movement. Like it's not the same right side to left side. Something is preventing that. It's going to be very hard to coach this player through that restriction. So it would be, you know, call up my partner at Hansberger Physio, set up an assessment, understand why that person can't turn left, remove the restriction for them with the medical professional. And then we use the swing trainer to gain strength, gain range of motion as well. So there are some times where we've got to ask for some help in the medical professional field. If when we're doing our diagnostics tool, we see, hey, there's some real struggle here for you to do this, let's have somebody else have a look at it.
Perfect. That's super helpful.
All right, so this here, before you play the video, I think this is critical for us as we deliver this on how we can coach better. So Robin made mention of the coaching zones on the swing trainer, and you'll see on the swing trainer, it's got like a G1, a G2, a G4, and a G5. And these allow for us as golf pros to kind of coach hand positions and put them where they are. And then what Pete Holman, I got to spend 3 days with Pete Holman at the CanFit Pro Show. He's a worldwide fitness leader. He developed the swing trainer, the TRX rip trainer, as well as many other fitness products. He's a true product innovator on the health and fitness side. And we talked about this in that first slide of the accuracy point of view. So what we want to do is when we're working on these motions is let's help the player establish their end range position. And we want to always force players when we're coaching them with end range and have full control of that place. So if you run that first video on the left for me, Robin, you'll see me at the beginning here where I want him to be from a follow through hold position. I kind of call this the establish. He's going to realize how hard he needs to engage to hold it. You see, I grab a smash.
Uh-oh, it looks like we're having a little bit of internet connection. Do you want to
sorry,
again, Brandon? We just
all good.
You cut out a little bit
All
there.
good. Yeah. So then once we establish that end range position for Dan, I grab the smash bag. I bring the smash bag in, and I have him just hit it. The golf ball never moves. And what is an important piece of the GolfForever training portion for a player, like the world long drive hitter that we work with, it's like when you're training with the GolfForever bar, I want you to think that I'm filming you and that every time you extend the bar out like Dan is doing there, it's hitting that bag at the same place every time. And it doesn't matter what move we're doing here. We want to be pinpoint accurate with where we're extending our arm to with this swing trainer, whether we're doing it on our hitting side or whether we're doing it on our non-dominant side, because we want to know if we shoot our arm out, we know exactly where that thing is going to be, because that tee never moves. And if the ball's on the ground, whether it's on a uphill, downhill, side hill, lie, it's not moving. So we want to become very accurate in our training with our extremities of if I shoot my arm out, I know exactly where it's going and I have maximum control of that movement. So when we're coaching with the swing trainer, it's critical to establish the accuracy point of training. Like it's like going to the range and hitting balls without a goal. Like we're just ingraining a bad pattern. So when we're in the gym training, whether we're doing our block practice thing, let's be accurate this thing and maintain control the whole time. So this is me here, kind of this GolfForever impact, and I kind of call it impact to follow through position we see here. It's one of my favorites where we link everything together. So we kind of had him go through those foundational moves, and then it's like, all right, now let's put it all together here in a golf-like swing. And I'm really excited to show you coming up here the before and after changes that we saw from Dan in a 20 or I believe it was 25-minute session of just going through some movements, understanding what the problem was, and then putting together a plan for him based on his failures of movement.
So quick question for you, Brandon. In terms of building a follow-up program with the GolfForever Swing Trainer, do you feel you learned more about building the program by your use in the app or your experience in the field as a golf professional, or a combination of both?
Combo of both for sure. I always say every time I work out with the swing trainer, I am grabbing another drill or another exercise or another feel for whatever piece of the swing I would be working on with a player. So I usually have my notepad or my phone beside me and my notes app, so I could, this is a great drill for backswing feel. This is a great swing drill for transition, balance, et cetera, et cetera. So that combined with my 18 years of coaching the golf swing, understanding it from a physio level, being partnered with the physio team that I have, I believe I have a really nice understanding of the body movement. So that kind of helped along the way. But the more you use the app, the more you develop a library of exercises and moves that you can then put into your teaching.
So you truly believe that the app helped to
big time
improve your overall knowledge?
100%. Like, we all kind of have an idea of the golf swing in the field, and what we want to do, and we could all as golf professionals pick this bar up and go, oh, that kind of feels like this, that kind of feels like that. But what I've noticed is, like, you start to do some other workouts on foundational movements and you go, oh, that's kind of how I need to feel, or how I need to load a glute, or that's how I need my shoulder to feel to kind of have that external shoulder at the top so I can get it in the slot. So I'd say every day I use the app, I probably grab one or two moves that's new for me that I can kind of put into my repertoire.
Very cool. Thanks for answering.
Yeah,
that.
so this is the before data with Dan. You'll see his club head speed kind of averaging at around the 78 miles an hour range. His angle of attack, great for kind of a fairway wood, -1 to kind of half a degree down. Not so great for an 8-iron. We see his club path, as again I said, it's around 9.8, so he had some up to 11 degrees into out, but mainly stayed in around that 8.5 to 9 degrees into out, and you can see how close his club face is. So this was the before 10 shots, so you could see kind of what we saw, and here's the after. The only thing I didn't show in there is I did one swing drill where I just had him kind of feel like what a pull across would be feeling like, to kind of get him to go the opposite path. So we kind of had him do 5 minutes of swings with like negative path numbers to kind of get him to feel like out to in. And then we started to have some swings. And what we quickly developed for him in those GolfForever swing moves was the feel that he needed. So when we had him in that follow through position where he was holding it, I was like, okay, well, what do you have to squeeze or push or drive to be able to maintain that position? He's like, man, I've never pushed this hard from my left butt cheek. He's a lefty ever in my golfing career. And I said, okay, so like, that's it. When you go over there, all I want you to do is recreate that feel. And what we see is club head speed went up, maxing at 83, probably averaging around 81. So 3 miles an hour in a couple of 20 minutes. Pretty cool. Angle of attack, it's about -5 or 6 now, 6.5. So really nice angle of attack for an iron. His path went to a much more manageable, palatable 4.5 degrees on average. And then his club face is not nearly as close. So we see the change here in the numbers, and that's obviously going to reflect for the player to see the change in the ball flight. But now we're going to see the before and after on the V1 with the data to see the difference as well as the visual. And kind of, I'm excited to see the changes that we were able to make with Dan in a 25-minute session. And if you were able to do this for a player, I'd be hard pressed to find somebody who saw these changes and not want to sign up for your winter program. So I'm excited for you to have a look, and then we'll open it up to some questions if you got them.
Perfect.
All right, so here's the before and after now. The before of Dan here on the left, after our work with the GolfForever bar, showing some weakness. Again, lead foot, trail foot, lead foot, trail foot in this swing here. So let's have a look. Immediately, what I want to kind of point out is before we even look at the golf swing, if we look at that yellow line and the trace of how his pelvis moved, you can see way less backup, way smoother, cleaner movement. So before we even kind of look at the swing here, the data is already telling us the movement is cleaner. And when we look at the flight of some of the shots, you can see way less curve, much better flight than before, more control as well. So we're seeing it for the player in the flight. So if you don't have the data, the flight obviously is the most important thing, but the data just also helps us confirm to the player what they're doing is right. So let's have a look at Dan here as we go. And what I want you to kind of see as we look at this is, again, the cleaner movement of the lower half, the better timing of the movement into the backswing here for Dan. You look at the top, he's posted into this, and the after so much better, but also right in a much better club to deliver some power here. We watch how late the before was in delivering weight transfer. So we're looking at there in the golf swing is when he transfers it. Whereas now we're really seeing him activate that a lot sooner. So the weight transfer is moving way sooner, which is of course going to allow him to post up sooner. We can see right here how much better that angle of attack is for this iron. As we watch him get into impact here, right? Was late getting there. Look at how much sooner he's getting his weight onto his lead side prior to impact. Here it's kind of matching it almost at the ball. So he's loaded better. You can see that delivery of the club in the before and after, much better position to deliver an iron from. And then for me, where the magic happens here is through impact. We watch the big kind of backup that Dan had before and how far backwards his weight was getting and how much more he's pushing and stabilizing. You can see the activation in the glute. You can see in the trace how he stayed onto his lead side much better, how that's helping release this club better. Like look at the face here on his release compared to here. So we're seeing all the change as coaches that we would want, but more importantly, the player is seeing again the straight ball instead of the curve. And we look at where Dan posts up better as opposed to this real sag down that kind of leads him into this position to kind of hit these hooks. So we get cleaner movement in the data. We get the results that we want here in ball flight, and more importantly, the player wants within 15 to 20 minutes. They see how they can integrate the GolfForever training system into their at-home practice, into their on-range practice, and how most importantly, it's getting the results that we want. That's going to sell more units for you in the shop, but more importantly, or equally as importantly, sell more packages, get people playing the game more active golfers. This is what we're looking for.
That's pretty great to see in such a short period of time.
Yeah, I can't think of a player that would see change like that in such a short amount of time and not be all into the program that we're providing for them. So I'm so excited to kind of help my colleagues around the country learn and integrate this into their programs the way that I have successfully been able to do it, and help my players play faster, play stronger, play with more power, but more importantly, play Friday, Saturday, Sunday without pain, walk instead of ride, right? All these things that are going to bring more enjoyment to the game. Like, that's what a good quality program of rules is going to provide.
Okay, so now let's dive into, we've done the assessment with the player leading into our winter golf program. You've come up with their fundamental movement trends that are impacting their overall kinematic sequence. But how do you create a program for them to take home with them using the GolfForever app that continues to make the sessions you spend together, whether they're virtual, whether in person, or whether they're training on their own, more effective? How can we use the app for that?
Yeah, great question, and it's twofold, right? It's Robin's got it highlighted there. There's a really awesome. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. There's a really awesome series, I'll be okay, with Rick Smith that kind of helps a golf pro find drills and build these block practice training sessions. Robin's pulling it up here. You click in there, you're looking for some setup and some backswing stuff, some follow through, some foundational drills. All of that you can find in here in the golf swing training series with Rick Smith. You take a look at what I did with my long drive hitter, who really didn't need strength and speed just yet. He needed balance and stability. So I kind of come up here, I can click on a fundamental workout in the middle, and up in the top, you'll see a search bar. It's the same whether we're on the website like Robin's got here, or whether we're on our app or a tablet. And then you can see, bang, all these balance and stability things come up. So what we want to do as coaches from here is, as you use the app, as you go through the workouts, click that heart button, which is the favorite button on these workouts, and that'll start to establish a little favorite folder of all your best library moves that you've done and you know are great. So you can kind of start to say, hey, Jim, hey, Joan, all right, you're going away this week. In between our next practices, I want you to do blah, 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 blah. Go do those 4 things, or 4 workouts. When you're practicing, don't forget, you're going to the range, do our blocked practice session. And then when they come back to you, we've gotten change, right? Like, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm tired as a golf professional giving my players 5, 6, 7, 8 drills, being on a range, coaching for a day, watching them come for a practice session, and just hitting balls for an hour and a half. I'm sure all of you have those people, and you walk over the range going, how was the practice session today? Oh, great. And then you say, what are you working on? Oh, the stuff you showed me. No, I watched you hit balls. You didn't do one drill. You could have just done one of the drills. So this really allows us to build a really concrete block practice session that a player can kind of go, oh, this makes sense to me. This is how I practice. There's a specific goal of what we're trying to do here. And it can turn an hour and a half practice session into half an hour and get 6 times the results. So it's been a really great innovation for us on how we coach and retrain motor patterns.
And what we also like about this as well is, as someone progresses through different fundamental phases of the workout, we obviously have the pre-round warm-ups, we have the fundamental section, which is where a lot of people start. We have rotational power, no equipment workouts as well, which is key for some people as they're building up some of those foundations. What we really like here for some of our sort of more senior level golfers is the injury prevention side. The cardio stuff is great, stretching, but also here, this is where Brandon and I have also learned a lot, is the education and the pain relief section. We highlighted the Rick Smith series here in the golf performance side, but there's also some lessons with Justin Leonard. So there's a lot of different categories here. We can filter many things based on what we're looking to do, but how we really encourage all of our students to start, regardless of being a PGA professional, a weekend warrior, wherever you're at in your game of golf, everybody should follow the 3 assessment sort of section in order to create your custom program. Follow that program for 30 days, again, regardless of where you're at in your game and how much you know about the swing, because this will truly teach you about the different style of workouts, the different movement patterns, and really help educate you on what your body is capable of. Once you go through that and you really understand the system, you can also look into the different individual exercises. Here are some, there's a whole slew of different exercise videos and tutorials, but you can also adjust your app or your user experience by looking at the different workout equipment here, buying a swing trainer through the app if you haven't yet, but also sort of saying what else you have at home and what else you may need to buy. So there's a lot of different ways for us to help integrate and continue to advance the users of this app, but most importantly, focusing on the program that you provide. You can go and look back at your workout history. And again, as Brandon said, our favorite section here is really allowing us to go back and highlight areas that you as PGA professionals are encouraging your students to do on top of everything else that they're working on.
Totally. And to build on that, Robin, when I got my hands on the system in December, I had separated my shoulder. So one of the assessments was a push-up. I obviously failed that horribly. So it seats you in those daily workouts that Robin talked about accordingly. So when it came to some of the shoulder stuff and the fundamental workouts, the system intuitively kind of took me through retraining that joint and how it needed to work. And it took me from maybe a back or a middle T exercise from a core perspective. But when I went to shoulder, I was on the forward T. So to that earlier question, what about strength wise? Like I was taking the resistance band off for some of the shoulder stuff, especially when it was on my right shoulder. So it really was amazing from me, even though I'm on I work at a physio clinic, that's where my academy is. My at-home rehab really sped up because the asymmetrical training, the resistance really allowed me to get my shoulder up and running quickly. And I think I separated my shoulder December 17th. And I believe I was hitting drivers before February. So from an injury prevention, but also a rehab piece of equipment, this thing is second to none.
And I would say the same thing for my own experience using the GolfForever Swing Trainer. I broke my arm about 3 years ago now, and I was in a cast for 4 months. And I have a great physio team, just as Brandon was alluding to, but I was really having trouble building unilateral strength back up in my right arm and my shoulder just using bands. And the moment I got the GolfForever Swing Trainer was really when I started seeing a lot more immediate results and significant gain in strength, and it translated to my golf swing. So we not only see this, as Brandon was talking about today, from a diagnostic perspective, a pre-round warm-up, ongoing training, but really this sort of injury prevention, education, and pain relief side, and then moving into the golf performance side. So that's just a little bit about the app that we feel is a critical component of the swing trainer. There really is no point in using one without the other, because we're going to miss that huge knowledge transfer from some of these world-class fitness trainers, golf coaches, and medical professionals.
Totally.
So quickly, for everybody on the call, we just wanted to let everybody know that we will be attending TTalks Live, and we really hope to see you there. So that's going to be in Ottawa from December 1st to 3rd. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, I think there's still some early bird pricing that ends on October 1st. This guy right here, he is the golf ninja. We absolutely love Pete Holman, and he's going to be leading a breakout session on Saturday. So we really hope you can join us for that, because we're going to take what we taught you in webinar number 1 and webinar number 2 today, sprinkled with some of the coolest product innovation and golf specific fitness and movement knowledge, and really just blow your socks off. So I know that's something that Brandon's super, super excited about. And he's not going to give away what it is because you guys are going to have to come and see the breakout session in person. We're also going to be having live Golf Forever demos in the trade show area Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There will be 2 Golf Forever fitness breaks so that you'll actually be able to get your hands on this and participate in a group style fitness program with Brandon and Pete. We're going to have some special attendee sales promotions that are specific to TTalks Live, as well as some golf giveaways. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we talk about our little sales contest there, Brandon?
You know there is, and Robin alluded to it. I'm not going to say what it is, but what I will tell you, and I've told the team here, and I've taught a few of my elite players with it, and some of my non-elite players, but Golf Forever is going to be coming out with next year the most innovative piece of equipment that a golf pro is ever going to be able to have to teach, improve, and ground force pressure and footwork for a golfer. The changes that I made with our long drive hitter, PGA ranked players, 73-year-old female junior players, it's blowing my mind. Everybody who gets on it, it's kind of like, where do I get one and how do I get one in my hands right now? I can't wait to show you guys what it's all about. People who have been on it have tried to steal it from me because they want it so badly. And I can't wait to show you. This is without a doubt going to be 2024's most wanted piece of equipment for golf industry, bar none. And I can't wait to show you guys.
That's amazing. And you'll just have to show up on Saturday at TTalks Live on December 2nd and see it for yourself in person. Now, we will have an exciting sales contest that will run from today until TTalks Live. So that's December 1st. So if you place an order from now until TTalks Live, you will be entered to win tickets to the Ottawa Senators game with Golf Forever on Saturday, December 2nd. It's a special sort of additional opportunity that TTalks Live and the PGA of Canada have put together. We will be drawing for tickets to sit in our section at the Ottawa Senators game versus Seattle Kraken. So if anybody places an order from now until TTalks Live, you will be entered into a draw to win a ticket to sit with us at the Senators game on Saturday, December 2nd. We will share more about this sales contest through the PGA of Canada, along with this recording for your viewing pleasure. But that's a little bit about TTalks Live.
Pete Holman is a world, as I said before, world fitness leader. He doesn't come to Canada very often. Designer of so many different fitness products. The ability to spend 2 to 3 hours in a very relaxed setting with Pete, pick his brain. The man, I spent 2 days with him and he made me a better coach very quickly. So it's a super unique opportunity. And if Pete doesn't inspire you, then you don't have a pulse.
So a lot of people have been asking us on the chat today, but also over the past few months, how do I attach this to the wall? So we talked about it when we first introduced the product to you at the start of this presentation. Every unit comes with a door anchor. That being said, there are people who are asking, how do I make this more of a professional setup in my simulator bay, at my gym, in my garage, whatever this situation may be. And we have 2 really great solutions. So the first is the wall anchor set. It comes with 3 different wall anchors that will be attached at different levels into a stud that allows you to follow along with the app and really have a solid at-home or in-gym experience. These are also great for resale. So for any of you guys buying into the wholesale program, we will be offering the wall anchor sets as well. This becomes a fantastic bundle to sell as part of your winter golf training program. And Brandon doesn't sell his winter golf training programs without including a GolfForever Swing Trainer. And now we're layering the wall anchor set there. So you've got some of the details here. It integrates seamlessly with our system. It's designed for a custom setup, helping you expand your movements, but also to store the swing trainer when you're not using it. And it's a durable and dependable quality. So we're not seeing any issues from that side, but it really just transforms your space into a golf fitness hub, enabling effective practice and training right at home, in your golf simulator bay, wherever that may be. We also see here on the right, some of you guys have seen this before, but this is our premium warm-up station, and it holds 2 GolfForever Swing Trainers. This can also display an iPad or a tablet or a warm-up guide, and can be positioned on the range outdoors in a simulator bay, a gym, or a fitness facility. What we love so much about this is it's portable, it's got wheels, so it's movable in different places around your academy, at the club, or wherever that may be, but it's also waterproof. So you don't have to bring it inside and out, from inside to outside every single day, especially outside in the summer months. So this is just a little bit about our anchoring solutions. If you have more questions on those, we can follow up with you guys later.
One thing, can I jump in one thing there, Robin?
Absolutely, yep.
One thing that I'll say is once you get our product in and you are wholesaling it in your shop, the most critical piece of this puzzle for you is finding an anchor point in your pro shop. This is an experience product. If a player feels the resistance, they're hooked. So using that wall anchor in your shop if you need to, or finding something to anchor it in, will really help drive sales for you guys, as well as you go. So making sure that you find a way to anchor it in your shop so people can see it and try it is a huge piece of the puzzle for you guys as you get your shops up and running.
And we also supply all of our wholesale units with a retail box for display, depending on what your setup is in your pro shop or in your academy. And this, again, really helps to drive sales because the packaging is so eye-catching. And last but not least, I've seen a few comments in the chat, and we've received a few emails today, even just after the specific webinars that we've hosted, is how we can get you your GolfForever Swing Trainer today. So we have a PUD program that gives you $140 for the swing trainer and a 3-month app access. So this is available to all PGA of Canada members. And for all PGA of Canada members, there is free shipping Canada-wide. Anyone interested in buying into the wholesale program, which we highly encourage, especially leading into this key winter golf training period, the gift giving season, and sort of this New Year's resolution type of mindset, is the wholesale program. Wholesale pricing is $168 per unit and $269 MSRP, plus applicable taxes depending on which province or territory you're located in. The sales programs we have right now for initial opening orders is buy 6, get 1 free, or buy 12 and get 2 free. Again, that's just for your opening order. And we will be releasing some very exciting sales programs leading into TTalks Live as well. So stay tuned for those. And again, a lot of people have been asking, okay, great, I'm going to bring in the wholesale. My clients are really interested, but what's the app pricing all about? So we have 2 different ways that we can go about purchasing the app. Again, this is through the Google Store, Android, as well as Apple. We can buy a yearly membership for $249.99, or we can go monthly for $30.99 per month. So those are some of the different offerings. Brandon and I have some really great ways to integrate it into your academies. Whether you're a virtual lesson provider, you're doing it in person, we really are invested in your success. We know that if this is done right, this will change the way you operate your business. So between Brandon and myself, we also offer sort of 30-minute custom sessions so we can learn more about your academy, how you're setting things up, and really help you integrate that properly. So you've got Brandon's contact information here and mine. Please reach out to us at any time. We are here and invested in your success. We really hope to see you at TTalks Live, and we will open it up for questions with, we're right on the dot, right at 1 minute, or 1 o'clock. So we might not have time for today, but we do have our emails here. We'd love to hear from you. And we really look forward to seeing you at TTalks Live. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll talk with you guys soon.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.